Mahaganapatin Manasa Smarami Mahadevamudam Shirasa Namami Mahaganapatin Manasa Smarami. There is one thing which is self-evident, and everything else is evident to the self. So this self-evident is what we say by the word I, aham in Sanskrit. So this self, if you say self, atma. I, if you say equivalent is aham. If you say self, equivalent is atma. So what do you say? This aham, I, is the self, and it is self-evident. The self-evident is, the self-evident being is. So without becoming evident to the self, just relax and listen, okay? Just relax and listen. I mean, don't lie down and listen, but there's no space here. Just relax and listen. Just listen what the words do, let them do. So this, what is self-evident? Doesn't need any evidence to prove its existence. Understand? When you say this flower is, it becomes evident to you, the self, finally, through your eyes. This object has to be lighted, has to fall within your thought, and that thought is lighted by you. In other words, it becomes evident to the self. The self seems to light up the thought and the object of thought, and therefore this is because it's evident to the self. I don't say now at this time that it depends for its existence upon the self. That is to be arrived at later. I say now its existence has no way of proving itself to you unless it falls within your thought. It has to fall within your thought, this object. If there is no relevant visual perception, then means sense organ is not used. Then you think of the flower. We say it is imagined flower. So the imagined flower, a flower born of your memory, smriti, is evident to you. And since it is not an object of your sense perception, we don't accept it as an existent thing, as an imagined thing. So there is no existence or reality given to that object, which is an object of your imagination, correct? Object of your imagined thought. Whereas when you see the flower, this is what pramana is. When you see the flower gets loaded in your thought as an object of the thought, which becomes evident to the self. Or we can say, another words, what we can say in other words, it becomes an object, so object of your knowledge, an object of your knowledge. We can even put it the other way, little better way. I will say, this flower is there because there is flower consciousness. There is flower consciousness through the senses. Then we call it as prama, object. This is prameya. This is an object of your knowledge. Prama is knowledge. And the pramatri, the knower, is you. Now you understand what is pramana, etc. So without the pramana operation, out of memory you think of an object, that also becomes evident to you. That is also object consciousness, flower consciousness, but not pramana praptam. Now therefore, a thing that is existent is always pramana praptam. This is where all the problems start, okay? Problems start, schools of thought start because of this problem. So, pramana praptam vastu, an object which is pramana prapta. Pramana means what? Just to check up whether you know, I use the word. When I use the word pramana and I want you to see the meaning right away, otherwise I can't use that word. Pramana means what? Means of knowing. So, pramana praptam means arrived at through pramana. By pramana. Pramanena praptam. Pramana praptam. Praman se mila hai. And therefore, so pramana dwara praptam, pramanena praptam is called, is what we say real. Understand now? Real. So this is real. Understand? That is real. Then I have a rope in my hand. Real. Understand? This is real. But if you see a snake, where the rope is, it is what? Real. Real, true. Real. You jump. Real. Snake, you jump, you sweat. But then, after a little examination, you say what? That is the time we should picture this fellow and send for, whenever you seek alliance for marriage, this picture you should send. When he discovers that it is not snake, okay? சரியான பிக்சரா இருக்கும். அப்படியே உண்மை எடுத்து சொல்லக்கூடிய picture. Swarup mil jata hai. Anyway, so that is rope. The snake turns into rope. No, snake resolves in the wake of knowledge of the truth of snake, which happens to be rope. Need not be rope all the time, understand? And therefore, you can now understand. One is, rope is pramana praptam. Snake also, until you know it is assumed pramana prapta. This is where we have schools of thought. Wrong contentions, etc. There are schools of thought. In fact, in truth, there are no schools of thought. There are only schools of fish. Understand? There are no schools of thought. That school of thought, this school of thought, Vedanta is another school of thought. Amen. 1 + 1 is 2. There is no school of thought. In our school of thought, it is 4. And so, it doesn't lend itself, knowledge doesn't lend itself for such options, such luxuries. It's always true to the object. Therefore, dushpramana praptam. The other one is what? Pramana praptam. Then just purely smritya praptam. Smriti, out of memory prapta is not pramana. Dushpramana is not pramana. Until you come to know alone, it has got a certain hold over you. So what is real, what we consider is pramana prapta. This much you understand. So this pramana prapta, if the pramana, there is no dosha in the pramana, then it is, we say real, this is real. So we have got different real things, correct? Lot of real things are there. So this is satyam. Now you understand. This is what? Satyam asti. Satyam asti means what? Is. Satyam is. Satyam. This is satyam. This is satyam. This is satyam. This is satyam. Everything is what? Satyam. सत्यम 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 कितना सत्यम है? बहुत है. Known satyam is many. Unknown satyam is also many. There are so many satyams. In one satyam there are many satyams. One body is satyam. In one body there are so many hands. There are two hands. 2 hands is satyam. 10 fingers are satyam. 4 arms is satyam. So everything is satyam, you can go on doing. So satyam, and there are so many millions and billions of cells. Each one is what? Satyam, 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 satyam. And therefore, so when do you know when you say I love you, what do you mean? I love billions of cells, satyam. I tell you, I only one time I say I love you. But in fact I have told 1 billion every cell. Understand? Satyam, 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 satyam. So every soul you love. I love you means so many satyams are there. Then every thought is satyam. Every thought is satyam. And the buddhi is satyam, left is satyam, right is satyam. And so everything is satyam. All satyam. Then we have got what? Now we have got a basis to fight. Understand? So because everything is different from everything else, therefore we have got this satyam. One satyam is bugged by other satyams. Understand? Every bug is a satyam. And therefore there is a bugged satyam, there is a bugging satyam. There is a bugged satyam, there is a bugging satyam. There is a pressured satyam, the pressurizing satyam. So like this you have, there is a cheated satyam, there is a cheating satyam. Deceived satyam, so deceptive satyam. There are deceiving satyam. And thus we have got all kinds of satyams. No escape. That is why everybody says, Trahimam, Bhagimam, Trahimam, Bhagimam. Why? Because there is no other way. Then to whom you say Trahimam, everybody else is Trahi. Therefore, whom you say Trahi, there is another Satyam who is bigger Satyam, and therefore you tell him Trahimam, Bhagimam. Therefore, another Satyam. Wow! No respite at all. Then somebody says, ikkada ledu, akkada unnadi. Yemi unnadi? Respite unnadi. Ikkada ledu. Here it is not there. There in Vaikunta it is there. Akkada vellinappudu haiga untundi. So ikkada em ledhu. Here it is not there. Akkada you go, haiga untundi. One fellow heard this and he said, Yemi matladtavu? Yemi akkada untara yemi? You know, this fellow was telling, akkada unde pandurangadu ikkada undade. The one who is there, Panduranga, the Lord who is there, is here in Pandaripuram. The one who is there in Pandaripuram, Panduranga, which is Vaikunta, is here. Ikkada undade. Akkada unde Pandurangadu. Ikkada undade. Ikkada unde Pandurangadu. Akkada undade. Bah. This fellow is great. So he says, Panduranga there is here. Panduranga here. Panduranga is the Lord. The Lord is here, is there. There the Lord who is there is here. So there is only one Lord. Ikkada unde Pandurangadu. Akkada undade. Akkada unde Pandurangadu. Ikkada undade. I thought, Paravalede. Wonderful. So beautiful, I thought. Then next line he has got, Randayo, Randayo, Pandaripuramu Potamu. Repatiko, Mapatiko, Ren Pandaripuramu Potamu. Repatiko, Kapatiko, na? Mapatiko. Randayo, Randayo. So, the Lord here is there, the Lord who is there is here. Therefore, let us go to Pandaripuram. Therefore, it's very clear. What is clear? Too many Satyams are there. Correct? Even the fellows who sing as though there is something one and all that, it's all finally, it is compromised. And therefore, there are many things are there, many Satyam. In this, one Satyam is self-evident and every other Satyam is evident to the self. This is what I say. You have to say is, for which you require pramana. It is not imagination. It is by pramana prapta it is. So electron is, neutron is, because it is pramana prapta. And therefore you have things, countless things becoming evident to the self. And the self alone reveals its existence. This is what I want you to know. Self alone reveals its existence. And everything else is revealed existence. Correct? Self reveals its existence. And every existence is revealed by whom? That is the question. By whom? By the self. Through the eyes, through the ears, and by the self, everything else is revealed. In Dakshinamurti Stotram, you will find a verse coming later. So, Nana Chidra Gathodara Sthita Deepa Prabha Bhaswaram Mahadeepa Prabha Bhaswaram Jnanam Yasya Chakshuradi Karana Dvara Bahispandate Tameva Bhantam Anubhat Etat Samastam Jagat Tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. There is a gata, a pot. What kind of gata? Chidra gata. Means pot with holes. It's like, the pumpkin, Halloween pumpkin. You know now. And there is a lamp there. And there are nana chidras, many holes, and one lamp, one candle. So here, really a big lamp means very bright lamp. Bright lamp is there. And this pot is there in a dark room. Then you find there are so many beams of light, shafts of light coming from the pot. Each light shaft lights up objects on its way. Correct? So many shafts, so many sets of objects. How many lights are there? Shafts are many. Light is one. Eyes, one shaft. Ears, another shaft. And like this, there are so many shafts. Every sense organ is a shaft. Even your pramana, such as anumana, is all shaft. Inference is a shaft. And presumption is a shaft. All these are shafts through which you come to know objects directly, indirectly. And the pot is, you need not say that. This is the pot, understand? This is called pot, pradhanatvat, pot, that's all. And therefore, so pot like pot. Pot-bellied fellow. This body is a pot-like, made of earth, clay, and then goes to clay. Understand? Therefore, this is pot. This is also a thondi. This is a pot alone. It's all okay, and lot of holes are there. Nana chidrakatodara sthita Mahadipa Prabha Bhaswaram Jnanam. Shankara immediately says Jnanam. Jnanam is consciousness. So this consciousness which is implied in every evidence, flower is because flower consciousness is. And any object is, the tree is, tree consciousness is table consciousness is book consciousness is, sun consciousness is. So the is directly you see and therefore is, or indirectly you come to arrive at and therefore the object is. Electron is indirectly arrived at, but it is. Any law, any force, any connection, sambandha, any attribute, anything you say is, well, that is the object consciousness is. Now therefore, we will take a few objects. Let us take a table, chair, on the table and chair a book and a pen. So we are taking just for example, table is, chair is, book is, pen is. Okay? Now, how will you present for our understanding? For understanding means you have to complete it. Otherwise, this is what they call glossing over. All muddai. Muddai understanding. அப்படியே lumping. That's why nothing happens here, no firing. And so, then we dilate it. What all things that are there? After all this discussion, self is self-revealing. And it reveals the object. Therefore, I cannot say this table is unless there is table consciousness. Correct? Pramana prapta, table consciousness. Pramana prapta, table consciousness. Then I say table is. Then chair is, you say, what do you mean? Chair consciousness is. Then book is book consciousness is pen consciousness is. In these four, what words are common? Tell me. Is common? Consciousness is. Wow. Consciousness is. You add anything now. Any object you bring in, space consciousness is, time consciousness is, sun consciousness is, S-O-N, sun consciousness is. All consciousness is. You please try to tell me one object wherein consciousness is absent. That is absent. Eh? One object. Tell me. All pramana prapta only. I am talking of pramana prapta. Without consciousness is, tell me, one object. We only say table, chair, common. Here when you say table is, chair is, and all that, this is what it is. Table consciousness is, chair consciousness is. This is called teaching. Therefore, consciousness is common. Now, suppose you imagine an object, then also the imagined object consciousness is. You commit a mistake, the mistaken object consciousness is. Correct? You recollect something, memory-based recollect something, a recollected object consciousness is. You think of your mind, that object mind consciousness is. Left brain consciousness is. Right brain consciousness is. Dream consciousness is. In the dream, any given object, that object consciousness is. You take sound consciousness is. Sight consciousness is. Smell consciousness is. Touch consciousness is. Taste consciousness is. Sleep. That's the only time when consciousness is not. Correct? Otherwise consciousness is. Then only time there is no consciousness in deep sleep. Swamiji. In deep sleep there is no consciousness. I asked that man, how do you know? If there is no consciousness, how do you know? There is no consciousness anyway. How do you know? How do you know the sleep being revealed? There is sleep is. Sleep was. Sleep was. Means what? All was also consciousness is. You are presently talking. All was you are talking right now. There was never a was which was talked about in the past. It is always talked about in the present. Therefore, past was, you are talking now. Future will be, you are talking now. Always. It's not just, sometimes you do like that. No. Always, sada, always. When you think of the past, only now. They say past bothers me. Hey, the present thought of the past bothers you. Correct? The present thought of the past bothers you. Past never bothers you. It's gone. But you don't leave it. That is gone. Past is gone. You hold on to it. And then afterwards it bothers me. You hold on to it, and your present thought of the past bothers you. What is the thought? Thought consciousness is bothers you. Understand? Let us understand this little. Bothers you. Which you? Thought consciousness is. Thought consciousness is. Past thought consciousness is. Sleep consciousness is. Dream consciousness is. And therefore, anything you talk about was, is, will be, is the object consciousness is. We will complete that first. And therefore, when can you say consciousness is not? When can you say? Mahaganapatin manasa smarami Mahadeva mudam shirasa namami Mahaganapatin manasa smarami.